The Lightning survived Game 5. They live to die another day. We talk about it all, but first, let's play that music.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Adam Danker, and we're talking about the Lightning surviving Game 5, picking up a 4-2 win up in Toronto, sending it back down to Tampa Bay. And what an incredible game. What a nerve-wracking game. What a game in which losing was not an option for this Tampa Bay Lightning team. And they came to play tonight. And they did a phenomenal job all around. But really, when we look back, and we're diving it right into it right now, looking back on this game, what is going to be the story when we talk about this tomorrow? The early talk on Saturday morning, and especially when we're going to be talking about, can this be replicated? The main storyline is going to be Andrei Vasilevskiy and what he did in this game and how big of a performance this was for the Tampa Bay goaltender. I've been giving him a ton of crap this entire season, and I think most times deservingly so. I broke it down, the numbers last episode, but I've also been talking about them all season long, comparing him to past seasons, most notably his Vezina Trophy season compared to what he did this season. And I even said on the last episode how this isn't entirely his fault. The way he is playing, the numbers don't reflect. It's not entirely on him, even though he suffers in the save percentage and the goals against average to a certain degree. He still has responsibility. He still has expectations to fulfill. And I've been talking about it this entire series, and I spoke about I think I didn't pull any punches in the last episode when I said, if there's any expectations that are unreasonable for us to have from Mr. Vasilevskiy, it is only because of the past performances that we have seen from him, not only during the regular season, but in the playoffs, especially the last 3 years. And countless times on other outlets, as well as even on this show, I have been absolutely guilty of it at times, and I try to use it as the main reason early on in the season. But yes, at times, fatigue has played a role in Vasilevskiy's performance this season. But as I said just a few seconds ago, losing was not an option tonight. Having an underachieving game was not an option. Going out there and losing to the Toronto Maple Leafs, allowing that team to close it out, was not an option. And this Lightning team went out there and played with the most urgency we have seen them play with all season long. That goes regular season and even last year. I think that the only time where the urgency matched the outward performance was Game 6 last year against the Maple Leafs. Really, other than that, other than the Stanley Cup final, there was really no instance in which this Lightning team was really backed up against a wall where they really needed to go out there and empty out the bag of tricks. And most notably, Andrei Vasilevskiy had to do the same individually, because this is a give and take relationship the goaltender has with his team. You know, it's a very interesting dynamic that we could absolutely explore in the offseason. But when it comes down to it, especially in the playoffs, each entity, whether it be the skaters on the ice and their goaltender, they depend on each other in order for them to succeed individually. And I thought that the Lightning, and we'll talk about more about this in the second segment, but I thought the Lightning played very well in front of him. They gave him every single chance for him to make saves. Now, things got a little hairy down there, down the road, late in the third period. But overall, I thought that this Lightning team gave Andrei Vasilevskiy every chance to succeed. And guess what? He did a fantastic job. From he even before that goal and even after, right away, usually sometimes we sit here and we talk about how it takes him quite some time to get things going, whether it be early on in the season early on in the game or after a goal. He was picking up, he did not miss a beat whatsoever in this game. And I thought he was doing very well in terms of saves. I thought that he wasn't allowing a high number of rebound chances, secondary chances down low. There was times when the players in front of him did fail him on certain coverages, but I thought he did a very good job of weathering the storm. And that's going to happen throughout the course of a game, especially in the playoffs where both teams are desperate, but for different reasons. Toronto's desperate to do anything and everything they can to advance, close out this series, and move on, where the Lightning are just desperate to win. And we finally saw Vasilevskiy weather the storm. I don't think we have had many instances this season in which he has been able to do that. But this was probably as best as you can. And I think I alluded it on the last episode. At the time, if he were to go out, play well, Lightning win, go home, try and win again, force it back up to Toronto. The most difficult thing about this, and I'm still taking it one game at a time because that's how you have to do it. The most difficult thing about this, not only for the Lightning, but for Andrei Vasilevskiy, is that you're going to have to go out there for the next on the next game on Saturday and potentially the following game if you do win afterwards on Monday. You're going to we're talking about continuously digging deep into your bag of tricks. And this doesn't only go physically, this goes mentally. We saw some mental lapses from him, though, I will say, later on in the game, when that whole chaos ensued after the Matthews goal. And that wasn't his fault. I'm not blaming him for that, but there was instances, and it was more so you could see it was the telltale signs, I think, for him as the things unraveling. I thought that you could tell his body language. He wasn't comfortable whatsoever. After the Matthews goal, he kind of fell down from the sky and he became mortal again. And that is the only concerning thing I will take from this game for him. Other than that, phenomenal game, made a ton of phenomenal saves, was diving all over the place, stood tall, wasn't overly aggressive in the crease, going side to side, coming out to block off shots, to cut off angles of shooters. He was doing all the right things, all the things that we normally have seen him do in the biggest playoff games over the last couple of years. And the question, like I said, is going to be, can he replicate that on Saturday? And then the question will be asked again, can he do that on Monday? But like I said on the last episode, the only focus right now for this team, especially this goaltender, because when Andrei Vasilevskiy plays well, when we get performances like we got one, like the one we got tonight from him, this team is one of the best teams in the league. And if he could do that, I'm not going to say that it's an automatic comeback. All I'm going to say is that tonight, if Vasilevskiy continues to replicate the kind of performance in net that we got from him tonight, then you're going to completely understand why Toronto Maple Leaf fans were so desperate to close this game out. So coming up on the second segment of today's episode, or tonight's episode, late night post-game episode, I'm recording this 10:30 after the game ended not too long ago. We're going to be talking about the rest of the team, how well they played, all the great things that they did. Mikey Essyimont coming up huge. Tony Cirelli coming up big as well. Great play from Nick Paul as well. We'll talk about the defense. That was a huge question mark in coming into this. Were the Lightning going to be able to part the Dead Sea in order for Vasilevskiy to see pucks coming in? We'll talk about all of that and more. But first, I want to talk about one of today's sponsors, and that is our good friends at Built Bar. Now, if you haven't heard about Built Bar, you got to try these right away. Are you looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and calories? Then you need the best tasting protein bar ever built. You got to try this. If you're like me and you want to make healthier snack choices but don't want to compromise on taste, I've got just the thing for you. Built Bars and Built Puffs. Built Bars are healthy and taste amazing. Seriously, they taste so amazing, you won't even think that they're good for you. You got to try it. And now you don't need to wait for to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering Built Bars at Built.com, but now you can get them at a local Walmart or Sam's Club, while you still can get your specialty flavors still at Built.com. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream bar, double chocolate bar, or coconut puff. If you're close to a Sam's Club, run in and grab the 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter puff and churro puff. You could thank me later. All right. So once again, if you haven't already done so, please go ahead. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And please go ahead, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's been absolutely exploding over the last couple of days with subscriptions and views. All thanks to you, whether you're a Lightning fan, regular hockey fan, or Leaf fan, whatever team you root for, you're watching, and our channel is blowing up because of it. So thank you for your support and your continued support. And you could also listen to the podcast wherever podcasts are distributed in audio form. And the best part about that is that they are free. So, of course, the only conversation we are going to be having tonight is going to be about the Lightning coming up big in this game. Big. Andrei Vasilevskiy. You kind of figured, though, if you've been watching this guy over the last couple of years, you kind of figured in the first 5-10 minutes, you kind of figured that it was sort of going to be that kind of night. But quite honestly, I was very skeptical. Because my big question internally, I wasn't going to say this on the show to get people a little spooked, but I had a feeling we were going to see this sort of performance tonight. It was only a matter if he was going to be able to bring it out of himself, and the team as well be able to help him out as the game progressed. But my internal question was Andrei Vasilevskiy, as well as this team, going to be able to bounce back when things didn't go their way? I'll be completely honest. After the Morgan Rielly goal, which nicest guy in the world from everything I've heard from people in hockey as well as Leaf fans in general, still Morgan Rielly's public enemy number one for Lightning fans. I think we could all agree, especially after the Braden Point hit, as well as him just scoring 3 goals in this series. So that's more than enough to get hated by an opposing team. But yeah, 5 minutes in, almost 6 minutes into this game, Morgan Rielly scores. And I'm sure as I was as well, all Lightning fans were saying, "Oh crap, here we go again." That was it. This is kind of the beginning of the end almost. But this Lightning team prevailed. They really did a phenomenal job of taking it right back to the Maple Leafs. Anthony Cirelli answers only seconds later to tie things up. And then you see a very good rest of the period. You know, the Lightning weren't trying to overplay themselves. They weren't trying to play outside of the game. And this goes a lot of the credit for what the Lightning did tonight. I really got to give it to John Cooper and company. They said coming into this game that they had a practice yesterday and they did a lot of good things. They worked on a lot of good things. And he was very happy with how the team performed in that practice. And usually when you hear that, at least for me, that makes me actually more worried because, as I've stated multiple times on this show, my thing is that, yeah, you could do all the good things in practice that you can. You could, but the problem is, especially during the Stanley Cup playoffs, it is almost next to impossible to simulate game speed. It's one thing also to work on a certain play or a certain kind of drill during practice against your teammates, and it's another thing to enact that against another team that, if you have the puck, is going to take your head off. So that's the other thing with that. But this Lightning team, dare I say, look like the Lightning teams of old, the Lightning teams that won 2 Stanley Cup championships back to back, one in the bubble, excuse me, and 2 in the span of a year. This team was phenomenal all night. And I make the comparison between this team and the other team. And now, obviously, this team has so much. We're not even up to the point to where we could really compare. But I was seeing flashes of that style of play. And the one player that I have been really rooting for since day one, since he arrived, to where you could see those flashes to where, and I've said this before on the show, Mikey Essyimont, when he plays and he gets, the more playing time he gets, he reminds me, and I even tweeted, I was tweeting with another personality on Twitter, a hockey personality. I said he looks like a poor man's Barclay Goodrow. And what I mean by that is that he has so much more to do and to develop his game, but the little flashes, playing physical, being able to score when you need to, that is what Barclay Goodrow did. And he wasn't as fast. I think Essyimont was a little bit faster. I think Essyimont has a little bit more skill, puck handling wise. So maybe more of a Yanni Gourde type. And I use those comparisons to those guys just because third line really is where the highest we're ever going to see him. But Essyimont, obviously, this wasn't like a great goal. This was a great goal in the sense that the Lightning took the lead and never relinquished it after that. And also just, kind of starting to see the tide turn in favor for the Lightning, luck kind of going their way. This was a very weird angled goal. We saw this during those 2 Stanley Cup championship runs where Lightning were getting a lot of calls their way. The puck was just bouncing the right way for them. And you saw it in this game for the most part. Unfortunately, Braden Point, he had Samsonov beat on a shot, hits the post, it deflects the other way. But this is what I'm talking about, is this Lightning team all around played phenomenal. They were creating chances for themselves. They had their moments where they were careless with the puck. The puck possession at times sometimes was not a lot to be desired. But for the most part, they did all the little things the right way. And if you've been listening to my show for a very long time, you know how much I stress that, how much I think that is an important part. They go out, they do the little things, and guess what? That builds up into something big, like scoring chances. And they had quite a few tonight, and 38 shots on goal. And so you can't fault them for not keeping Samsonov busy. On the other side of that, they were doing a phenomenal job down the other side of the ice of clogging the shooting lanes. Get in front of pucks. We've been stressing I spoke about it a little bit on the last episode, and you've been seeing it all over the place. The Lightning, and this is part of the reason why they're down in this series, is because they haven't really been throwing their bodies in front of shots. As you see, and I'm gonna compare the last couple of Stanley Cup runs just because that's what those teams did well. That's what got them as far as they did, was sacrificing their body. And a large part of that has to do with that the Lightning are uh no longer have Ryan McDonough. Eric Chernak is gone for the foreseeable future. I mean, if the Lightning move on, maybe we'll see him in the next series, but we can't even concern ourselves with that. But you saw guys just putting their body on the line. There was one block by Brandon Hagel, which was really spoke a lot to me. Small guy. That's not really part of his game. I mean, he does play physical here and there, but just putting yourself in front of slap shots and from guys who could really wield it from the blue line, that says a lot about you. That says a lot about this team buying in, doing whatever they need to do to win. I thought they did a very good job just passing and cycling. I would like to see them. The only thing I would like for them to tweak going into Saturday's game is I would like them to set up more in the zone. I do appreciate the rushes, but and they got a ton of rush chances throughout this game. But Toronto was catching up on it. You could tell they were really clogging those passing lanes, taking away the one timer on the rush. And there's sometimes where that's fine. Go for it, sauce it to the other side. Maybe Samsonov doesn't get over there as quickly. But I wouldn't mind if, you stop, you let the rest of your team catch up and you allow yourself to get things moving around. Get those guys in front of you tired. Get Samsonov kind of weary in front of you, because what you're going to do if you make those guys stay in the zone instead of going up and down like a track meet, what is eventually going to happen? Those guys, their legs are going to get tired. They're going to stay in there, and that's when you start to create traffic in front of Samsonov, because those guys aren't going to be able to force you out of the low slot area, the high danger areas. And that's where the Lightning could really cause some damage. That's when you throw guys like Corey Perry in front, Alex Killorn. That's where you throw even Steven Stamkos, who we have seen really play very well up in front the last couple of weeks, when he has really struggled to score at all, especially from his office in the circle. So really, to sum things up, phenomenal game all around. A kind of situation for the Lightning where their skaters are looking at Vazzy and vice versa and saying, you help me, I help you. And sure as hell, they helped each other tonight, and it resulted in a phenomenal win, a series extending win. And now you get to go back home and live to fight another day. So, we'll talk a little bit more about that right after we talk about our friends at eBay Motors. Now, if you haven't heard about eBay Motors, this is the best place to go and buy parts for your car. Now, for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors with the eBay Guaranteed Fit. You could be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know that the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be able to get back into the game in no time. And after all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. So, wrapping things up on the show, I mean, what more is there to say? This Lightning team, for the most part, yeah, you've had some new faces come. You've had some old faces go. We've spoken plenty about how difficult it has been without the old faces, the Ryan McDonoghs, the Jan Rudas, Eric Chernak even being out for God knows how long. Blake Coleman, Yanni Gord, Barclay Goodrow. We talk about all the faces and names that come in, but some of the names that have come in recent years: Nick Paul, Brandon Hagel, most recently Mikey Essyimont. doing phenomenal jobs. Nick Perbix, Taylor Radish had a phenomenal game tonight. These guys really took a huge step, not only in going in the right direction of getting back into this series, but developing as players. This should be a very positive feeling, no matter how long the series goes for, whether the Lightning season ends on Saturday or it gets extended to Monday. Lightning fans should look at this game, look at the individual performances, especially of the younger players, and say, all right, there's not a lot of draft picks. There's not going to be that much money to play with, but they still got something to play with. They still got a team around them. The names might not be flashy. The style may not be as flashy either, but these guys are rugged. These guys are going to go out and fight for each other. And when a team who has the level of talent that they have, guess what? That is just enough to get by, especially when your goaltender plays the way that Andrei Vasilevskiy played tonight. This team still can contend. This team, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself too quickly right now because the Lightning still need to win 2 more games in a row. But I look at this Lightning team, and we're always talking about on this show, when they win especially, is this performance, can we replicate this? Can the Lightning be successful long term? Can they be consistent with this? We look at this performance tonight, and I can't help but look at some of the teams in the Eastern Conference that could potentially move on. The Boston Bruins, the New York Rangers, the New Jersey Devils. I look at those teams, even the Panthers. I look at those teams and can't help but say the Lightning could beat those guys. And we always say when the playoffs come around, all bets are off. Just get in. I even look at Carolina and the Islanders series. Lightning could beat both of those teams. And it's all about just finding your groove in the playoffs. And I truly believe, and maybe I'm being a little overconfident. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this win, and maybe am I jumping the boat into jumping ahead a little bit with this take. But I firmly believe that the Lightning found their groove. This was very recognizable playoff hockey, especially to us who have been watching this team since the beginning of their great run. I think that the Lightning could very, very much likely, I'll even go on a limb and say they will win on Saturday. And then you go back up to Toronto, and with everything at stake for this Maple Leaf team, I think that only plays in favor for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I've spoken about it numerous times that the Lightning weren't going to come into this series and win in 5 or win in 6. This was win in 7, because the longer the Lightning stick around, the one thing that we could say about them in the playoffs is that they learn, they adapt. When the chips are down and they need to win, this team wins. And I think they needed a couple of days to figure it out, and they did. And now you're going to start to see a totally different Lightning team, especially in the later stages of games. That, like I said, that was a little hairy down the stretch there in the third period. But, that's going to happen. We've seen plenty times where the Lightning have struggled in the latter stages of games, but have played phenomenal in the playoffs. We've seen that. We've seen it in 2 cup final wins, even last year in some of the games that they won. That was struggle for the Lightning. But that's why you have a great goaltender like Andrei Vasilevskiy in net for you. So please go ahead, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit us up on our social media pages, LO_lightning on Twitter, as well as lockdown_lightning on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter at DankyDank, DENKYD8NK. I love hearing from all of you. The amount of positive and just, feedback in general from all of you, whether, like I said, Lightning, Leaf, regular hockey fan, has been phenomenal. The episode from a couple of days ago, I believe, is up to 36,000 views. And last night's episode is up to 4,000 views on YouTube. Thank you all for your feedback, for your enthusiasm. And let's keep bumping those numbers up. I think we're only 12 away from 600 subscribers. Let's get that up by tomorrow. So if you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and subscribe to the pod. Hit that thumbs up. Leave a comment below. How we feeling? Whether you're Leafs, Lightning, unbiased hockey fan, let me know how you feel about this game. Let me know about the chances that this will get extended. I think Leafs fans are all going to agree that this might go 7. Lightning fans, some of you might still be a little skeptical, which is fine. But the Lightning will have to definitely prove some of you wrong on Saturday. So in the meantime, that's been it for this episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Danker. I'll talk to you in the next one.